Warsaw Outcomes for Local and Subnational Governments. My name is Marijke van Staden. I'm the manager of the Low Carbon Cities program at ICLEI World Secretariat. And we will be discussing today or doing a brief assessment of the Warsaw outcomes and recent progress, and also give you an opportunity to pose your questions or give comments. I would like to hand the floor to my colleague Mojca, who would just indicate what interaction opportunities we have for you.
Thanks, Marijke. Hello. So everyone is muted by default, so we improved the sound quality, but of course you can interact either by typing in your questions, or after the presentation you can press the hand icon, meaning that you raised your hand and we will give you the floor to ask your question or just post a comment. And if you have any technical questions, just type them in as well and I'll help you. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mojca. Good. So I will very briefly like to introduce ICLEI and just to give you a context for the local government and municipal authorities work we are doing. ICLEI is an international network with more than 1,000 members working in 86 countries and representing cities with more than 570 million people. We have 17 country or regional offices or capacity centers that support our work on the 8 urban agendas, actively working with cities, with local governments. Then the particular role that we play in this local government climate roadmap is as the focal point for local government and municipal authorities, and the Bonn Center for Local Climate Action and Reporting supports this function through 3 work streams. The one is on technical support, very much dealing with pragmatic approaches, finding out what local governments need and trying to shape and support them through particular guidance. Then we deal with the global processes, this is the box in the middle, where you can also see the Mexico City Pact and the Durban Adaptation Charter, which are the 2 political commitments for cities, where they can commit to climate change and actively engage, and also linking to activities like the Earth Hour City Challenge, which is an award where cities can compete for a particular recognition and status, and they report in the Carbon Cities Climate Registry to share their climate commitments as well as their activities. The work we deal with today is on the global climate advocacy process, which links to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, and in particular, if you look at the logo at the bottom, the local government climate roadmap. Without much ado, I would now like to hand over to my colleague Yunus Arikan, who is our head of global policy and advocacy, to share with us the Warsaw outcomes. So Yunus, over to you.
So thanks, Marijke. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all colleagues joining this webinar. It's a great pleasure for me to set the scene in terms of our today's discussion. So basically, this presentation will focus on how did we prepare for Warsaw, what happened, what activities took place, what were the results, official and strategic outcomes, and how this happened, what were the key contributions to this success or achievements, and what will be the next couple of weeks and months ahead. And in that sense, we wish this could also inspire a fruitful discussion in the rest of the webinar today. I'm trying to finish in 15 minutes of my presentation, and in case anything missing, I'm sure Marijke will help us to clarify with question and answers. I can see around 50 participants in the webinar at the moment. We have some colleagues from the national governments and local governments as well. So I'm eager to hear your response and also hear your comments on the whole subject as well. So how did we prepare for Warsaw? Let's have a flashback. This chart presents you like 2 decades of the climate action at the local level, mirroring also the global agenda. But basically our position was that in the UNFCCC and the Kyoto Protocol, the texts, there was no reference to local and subnational governments, local climate action. This was until 2015 or so, resulted in a structure that local action, which was globally very active, was mainly focusing on their own guidelines, and there were not too much opportunities for us to intervene in the UNFCCC agenda except side events and local government leadership summits. Starting from Montreal and in 2005, we are observing there are more and more networks going onto the scene, and especially 2007 was a milestone because the nations decided to draft a new agreement, and we thought that it would be a good opportunity to ensure that this time local governments are recognized, engaged, and empowered. Throughout these couple of years, from 2009 onwards, you can see basic achievements of the local government climate roadmap, which basically in Copenhagen we have introduced the city climate catalog at the local government climate lounge in Copenhagen. At the meantime, there were regional efforts like Covenant of Mayors. After the Copenhagen, let's say, milestone, which was for many parties and partners, it was a unique setting, then we decided to convene our own efforts, like adopting our Mexico City Pact, and started to report at the registry. We started to focus on resilient cities. The Urban Adaptation Charter was adopted in 2011. And on the words towards Doha, we also advanced with our global protocol with partners, and then Earth Hour City Challenge was also a new contribution in our efforts. So this was a snapshot in a nutshell. But especially towards Warsaw, the local governments and subnational governments have met in Nantes on the end of September. Which enabled us to decide on our strategy and roadmap for the second phase of the local government climate roadmap, which is particularly focusing on 2013 and 2015. The logic was that starting with Durban in 2011, the negotiations are focused on two levels of work. One is raising level of ambition and then drafting of the new agreement. And in the Nantes Declaration, we have adopted a couple of unique tools how we can achieve our success, like proposals on ministerial mayoral dialogues, working with the Friends of Cities, and come up with an action plan by Paris 2015. And the strength of the local government climate roadmap with the Nantes Declaration was that it is supported by more than 20 national, local, and global networks of local and subnational governments, which is presenting a unique coalition and strengthened even. And this was our biggest strength on the way to Warsaw, where we were sharing our ideas now this time with the negotiators at the UNFCCC. So in summary, this will be probably the summary of the whole presentation. What we were asking since 2007 is three main goals, which is recognition of local and subnational governments, engaging them in the global regime, and empowering them with appropriate resources. When we can look at have a flashback, we can say that the first goal was achieved in 2010. At the Cancun agreements, local and subnational governments are recognized as governmental stakeholders of the global regime. This gives us a unique opportunity because we know mayors and local governments at various level of subnational governments, they are in most cases elected or appointed by the governmental bodies or elected by by their citizens. They are managing public money, and they are investing, and they are actively engaged in concrete action. So our recognition as governmental stakeholders is a concrete achievement of our advocacy. Okay, what's the next phase, which is the engagement? In that sense, Warsaw have resulted in concrete first step to go forward, which means that in every element of the climate work, mitigation, adaptation, capacity, we are much more now closer to ensure a vertical collaboration with the national governments and also global climate community. And of course, the big vision, which we hope that will come up by Paris, is to have direct access to national and global climate funds, which means that the work that we are doing at various levels on mitigation and adaptation, of course, local governments are ambitious in that areas, but it's obvious that the scale of actions in terms of the investments and in terms of the sizes of the urban population that we're serving is definitely beyond the capacity of our municipal budgets. Therefore, we believe the national and global actors can work with us in terms of strengthening our financial and technical capacity and empower us so that we deliver the most important actions for the future of the world. So this slide is summarizing what happened in Warsaw. I don't want to go into all elements, but let's recall that since 1995, local governments, ICLE and the other members of the local government municipal authorities have been convening side events. We were having partnerships with a number of events. But this year, the unique thing that was in Warsaw was happening at the first time is the first part of the agenda, which is official events that is related to the UNFCCC. There was a workshop by the negotiators level, and there was a special 21st of November Cities Day, which was the flagship event as the COP presidency, cities and subnational dialogue. So in the next couple of slides, I will take you through some of the photos that can give you the impression of the setting that we have observed throughout the 2 weeks in Warsaw. Here we start with the official agendas. As you can see, the COP presidency, which means the host country, which is convening the event. This time it was Polish government, have decided to convene a special event during the high-level segment, which was opened by the Secretary General Ban Ki-moon's welcome address, and this was a unique opportunity because it was one of the first times that we had found the opportunity of interacting with the ministers and through our official representatives as mayors and governors of their jurisdictions. In the second photo, you can see the brief portfolio of the participants of this dialogue. This picture can show you also the strength that the participants at from the local leaders were diverse in terms of geographical representation, diverse in terms of the city profiles. We had cities from small scale but up to megapolises as well. So this was giving the chance that the negotiators could interact with the different aspects of urban development, low carbon and climate resilient development. There were 2 sessions, one focusing on mitigation and one focusing on adaptation. And then here you can see the ministers from Netherlands. You can see the ministers from France and Korea and from Colombia as well, and Alliance of Small Island States that joined this around 10 representatives of local and subnational level together with the UN agencies. So that was the first time unique opportunity at the plenary meeting of the UN. There was an opportunity that there could be an interaction between the representatives and the negotiators. Of course, this was one of the most unique things of the Warsaw 2 weeks of Warsaw. In the last picture here on the right, you can see that just the week before there was an important workshop where negotiators have decided to focus on urbanization and role of governments, and the importance of that this was an official part of the session. And ICLE was proud to make the introductory statement of this workshop, 3 hours workshop. This also gives the support and the confidence of the negotiators and the partners to the role that ICLE is playing. And this session was also focusing on 2 sessions on transport and buildings, and there were presentations from UN institutions, but as well as city representatives like Buenos Aires, Senegal as well, and this was in fact, as this meeting took place 1 week before, these discussions and interactions with the national governments provided the basis of the conclusions and decisions as well. In that sense, that was the uniqueness of this event. And as we have mentioned, here you can see various events hosted by local government and municipal authority. Here in this pictures, mainly you can find the events hosted by ICLE, but there was a UNFCCC side event. This year there was a dynamic interaction with the governments. Here you can see an event hosted by the US Center, the event hosted by City of Warsaw, and it was also bringing a lot of partners from European level outside the UNFCCC context, but the conclusions were also communicated 1 day after through Mayor of Warsaw to the Cities Day dialogue as well. We had also witnessed events at the EU Pavilion with Globe and European Commission in Indonesia, which is one of the Friends of Cities, with international partners like World Bank and Global Environmental Facility. And it was once again in every event we tried to ensure a regional balance in terms of the speakers and participants. The interesting that was also again unique in Warsaw is that the number of events hosted by other partners other than local and subnational were also much more increasing. We had a number of events in the IETA, but there were outside events like Climate Solutions or Climate Action Program. There was a unique one-day event at the China Pavilion, or with citizens and grassroots organizations at Connect for Climate. We also had found opportunities of interaction so that the positions of local governments are shared by a plethora of partners. So how all these activities resulted. So the first thing that we can find in the green is the official COP decision, which says that for the nations, in order to advance in their actions in the pre-2020 periods, they see a great value of working with cities and subnational authorities. The importance of this is that in the climate negotiations, we all focus on Paris 2015, but even the best agreement is adopted there. We know that the entry into force is only by 2020. So a key question, what will happen from today onwards, or how will we scale up on the way to the next couple of decades, even starting from today, is the biggest question, because climate action needs to be scaled up urgently and globally. And in that sense, the national governments are foreseeing a strong vision of working with with local and subnational governments. And there's a second decision that is following to this COP decision, which is the most autonomous, most authoritative decision, is an ADP conclusion. In that sense, the national governments continued to work with the local governments, and they decided to convene a forum in June 2014, a forum of parties, which will focus on mitigation and adaptation actions, good practices and best practices of cities and subnational authorities. This is giving us a unique opportunity. So as a conclusion of Warsaw, what we can say is that we have been ensuring that a second COP decision is adopted, which is an advancement of our engagement in the process. We had a highly visible official UN agenda where local and subnational leaders and governments are involved. And we have proudly seen that the non-declaration, which has been adopted by mayors and subnational leaders, the non-declaration elements of the non-declaration are concretely providing positive inputs to the process. The proposals for convening ministerial mayoral dialogues or specific workshops were all addressed in Articles 6 to 11 of non-declaration, and it's great pleasure and honor for us as local government networks that our concrete, positive, constructive proposals are positively responded by the national governments, which is showing the value of a partnership spirit. And of course now the June workshop, the June forum will happen for the first time, and this is, in our sense, is another signal that every event we are advancing with our interactions. So what we can say is that, first of all, the strength of the local governments to show what they are doing, regardless of the negotiations, was a positive indication. The registry, the Urban Adaptation Charter, these were the ones that impressed the national governments. That shows us that we can provide active contributions. The second point is that our submissions since 2012 have been already paving the way towards these kind of events, which is an indication that we have to be proactively contributing into the process. There is also an outside streamline, for example, that there has been a huge progress in terms of engagement of cities in the Rio +20. In the biodiversity, we have a huge collaboration, like a 10-year action plan. These are all the indications that are impacting, of course, the UN negotiations. And of course, the thing that makes difference this year is that since June we have a group of cities, we have a group of countries called Friends of Cities, which means that the real decisions will be adopted by the diplomats or the national government focal points, where they are the one who are crafting the texts. And at the moment, with France, Mexico, Poland, and Indonesia, we have kicked off this process, and we have a second streamline of governments who are also interacting with us. This is also helping us to advance with the outcome of the processes. And of course, we will continue to work on the non-declaration, which gives us the confidence that when we make a global coalition as a position, this is positively responded by the national governments. In Warsaw, the things that was unique was also the advancement of the local and subnational governments. In that sense, our registry, which is now engaging the information of more than 1/7 of the global population, which is showing that local governments can contribute in terms of mitigation, in terms of adaptation, in terms of commitments and emissions inventories. This chart shows you the global map, and it gives the information about the progress since 2012, and this registry in fact is strengthened by three main drivers, like national capacity building events and projects like Japan Registry or PACMUN from Mexico, incentives, rewarding mechanisms like Earth Hour City Challenge, and voluntary reporting like Mexico City Pact, which is the almost the start of the registry. And during the negotiations, we have demonstrated that the registry information is now actively reported by the local governments, can provide a concrete figure and data-driven processes to the discussions. Here we can say that 63% of the commitments by 2020 are more than 1% per year with the reduction commitment, which is giving the confidence that if we can engage with those commitments and if we can scale up, then the global targets can also be reached much faster. So we are coming closer to the end of our presentation, in fact. So in what will be the future for us in the next couple of weeks and months? Since Warsaw, significant information and progress has been achieved in the Sustainable Development Goals discussion. Now, there is a strong sense that sustainable urbanization will be in the heart of the post-2015 development agenda. Of course, cities' work in the climate arena is also a strong element of the sustainable urbanization. Therefore, this is a positive input to the process. On 31st of January, former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg was appointed by UN Secretary General as his special envoy for cities and climate change. Definitely, this will be a unique opportunity for our engagement. His mandate is towards the 2013 summit in September, but also until December 2015. In that sense, local and subnational government networks, local government, municipal authorities will be looking forward to work with the special envoy. During the March session, which will take place in 2 weeks' time, there will be a first round of negotiations. We know there will be events on energy efficiency and renewable energy. At the end of March, we will have the Earth Hour City Challenge champions being announced, and there will be the submissions to the process, as we have given the examples before, that we will provide additional inputs to the process. There is an World Urban Forum in April. In May, we will have a Resident Cities Congress, which will be an opportunity for us to consolidate our last round of positions into the June forum. And in the June forum, we will hopefully have additional interactions. This will be either through the representatives nominated by national governments and or contributions by local government networks as observers and partners of the process. In that sense, we're in close dialogue with the UNFCCC Secretariat and the co-chairs of the ADP process in order to understand what type of structure will be positioned. And we believe around the March sessions, probably we will have more concrete information about how to interact with this process. During the summer, we will have there are preparations from the Venezuelan government to convene a pre-COP event, which will also engage local governments. On the 23rd of September, there will be UN Climate Summit. In October, there is Biodiversity COP. There is the official pre-COP in November in Caracas, and we will have, of course, COP20 into Lima in December. And 2015 will witness a series of events like the Disaster Risk Reduction Conference in Sendai, UN Post-2015 Summit, and Paris COP 2015 as the culminating of the outcome of the whole process. So as you can see, these are the milestones, but they're also in between a number of preparatory meetings, which gives the impression that there's a huge agenda, and we are happy that local and subnational governments are all foreseen as actively contributing in this process. And here is our last slide. What is our roadmap towards these agenda? First, by the UN Climate Summit on the 21st of September, we would like to demonstrate that our commitments are enhanced. The number of commitments, number of cities, their level of commitments should be enhanced. And during this couple of months, through the reporting at the Carbon Cities Climate Registry, we will continue to consolidate information, and we are inviting all the local government representatives here to join us, and if they need, we can also help through the regional and the national offices of ICLE in terms of how to work on that. We will be continuing with our partners like Earth Hour Cities Challenge and Mexico City Pact. Meanwhile, we will continue to focus on our ambitious Paris outcome, which we would like to have under the Paris package. We would like to have a 10-year action plan on low-carbon cities, which is a spirit similar to the Nagoya Action Plan for Cities and Biodiversity. We believe this can strengthen that there can be a concrete guidance in terms of how to work in each specific sectors and what kind of tools we can demonstrate. And if it is adopted by the parties, this will give a strong signal that it is an official agenda, and we believe national governments would be happy with this kind of work because they know that towards 2020 they have to increase their domestic actions, and there should be more partnership in that sense. And on this action plan, the most important thing that we should be able to clarify probably is that there is an issue of the double counting of the emissions accounting and reporting at the national level, and this double counting issue can definitely be solved through an appropriate guidance on vertical integration of climate actions, which means how local, subnational, and national governments are working together in terms of planning, implementing, and accounting their actions. We believe in the next couple of months by Paris and in the next cycle of the Paris outcomes, we can come up with concrete proposals, innovative ideas, so that the local action can be scaled up, so that global level of ambition can be raised as quick as possible. And here are the links that you can find. With this, I'd like to conclude my presentation. I'd like to apologize for the speedy and fast presentation, but I'm eager to respond to your questions. And through this, I'd like to give the floor to Marijke.
Okay, thank you very much, Yunus. So that was it in a nutshell, indeed very fast. I would like to invite the participants to please type in your questions or raise your hand to also speak your question or comments. We warmly invite you to engage with us. Please remember the roadmap process is an open, inclusive process for other city networks in particular. As we cannot bring all the cities into the roadmap, the city networks as the representatives of the cities are the ones that we invite to connect to the roadmap, to support it, to show this presentation and bring in their own experiences also into the process. Are there any questions? Don't be shy. This is the time to ask. You're also very welcome to raise your hand. And we've got more than 60 people attending this morning session, so that is really good, good news. Also to get the message out there, what is happening on the Warsaw outcomes. No, no questions. There we go. We've got a question. Let me quickly see.
Marijke.
Yes, Yunus.
I see among the participants colleagues from the French Senate as well, which is representing Ronan Dantec, Senator Ronan Dantec office. Julie Marie is here. We can also consider those who have been actively involved in Warsaw. They can also contribute in discussion. It doesn't necessarily have to be a question, but also it could be an interaction.
Okay, there are several questions already asked, so maybe let's quickly look at...
let's go ahead, yeah.
Okay, maybe let's, one of the last questions, I'll go back to the first ones, but Yunus, could you please shed some light on the recent developments on the Friends of Cities group?
Yes, Friends of Cities is a loose network. And we are inspired by the achievements on the Rio +20 process, and in that sense, it's an informal exchange of ideas among the parties and the friends of, as they are called, Friends of Cities, exchange of ideas among these parties and with local and subnational governments as well. So it is being at the moment officially announced that Poland Mexico, France, and Indonesia are announced as official the partners of Friends of Cities. There are some governments, national governments, who are participating in our closed meetings during the sessions. They are exchanging their ideas and they are advocating for us, but at the moment they didn't announce officially. We have, in that sense, around 15 countries who have been participating in this kind of meetings. So there's a huge value for us because, as we said before, the proposals we are coming forward would mainly be adopted by the national government negotiators, and their dialogues with us and inter-agency dialogues are important. So we would like to expand this network of Friends of Cities, and if there are any national governments who would like to join us, please feel free to join or reach us so that we can connect you to the next meetings. In the March session, we will also have another couple of meetings as well.
Okay. Maybe also just a point of interest. We've got a Friends of Cities mailing list was established for the national governments, and many more governments are on that list as observers at the moment. Another question for you, Yunus. What is the local government agenda for the Lima COP?
So for the Lima COP, we know the first draft text should be released by the end of Lima. So in that sense, we would like to continue to use the March, June, and pre-COP events. Basically, we would like to see in a complete package that looks at the low-carbon cities or low-carbon and climate-resilient development as a supporting decision of the COP. And we would like to clarify how they can contribute in mitigation and adaptation and how they can benefit from capacity building, finance, and technology transfer. But the details of it still have to be crafted. The submissions, and during these events we will continue to work with our network partners in terms of how to craft this kind of an action plan in that regard.
Then another question from our WWF colleagues. Has there been any attempt in engaging Bloomberg to find out exactly what his agenda is? And is it to work with national level on integration issues or working with cities?
Well, that's a fantastic question, because I also see our colleague Amanda Ehel from C40 among the participants of this webinar. I'm not sure whether Amanda would like to contribute this question or respond, because we are trying to also have this information. Amanda, if you like, we can turn you unmuted so that you can participate. Because Jeet's question is mainly focusing to the team of the Bloomberg, and at the moment United Nations Secretary General's Office, UNFCCC, UN Habitat, they're all working, and Amanda Ehel from C40 is also supporting Mayor Bloomberg. Amanda, you are now unmuted. If you like, you can contribute.
Yeah, thanks, Yunus. I think we are actively in the process of figuring out exactly what Mayor Bloomberg's role as a special envoy will entail, but it certainly will involve working with local governments, with various local government groups, in addition to engaging national government. So happy to share more details as we start to understand what that role will entail. But it's very much in the process of getting hammered out right in the next week or so right now. So perhaps we can reconvene at that point.
Okay, thank you very much, Amanda. Then another question, what are the options in regard to the roadmap for small cities, such as one in Macedonia? Yunus? Yes,
let's first address from our perspective every city, regardless of their population and where it is in an Annex 1 or non-Annex 1 country, they can contribute in terms of actively acting on mitigation and adaptation. The thing that is at the UNFCCC is unique is that the new funds, the new resources are mainly for the cities of the non-Annex 1 countries, and in that sense Macedonia is also one of those. But so this means that they can benefit from the CDM or program of activities or nationally appropriate mitigation actions or adaptation funds. But we would also like to strengthen the city-to-city collaboration. The Urban Let's project that at the moment we're implementing is a unique example in that sense, so that regardless of the or in addition to the global UNFCCC positions, we can also help each other through learning in the registry or through learning through our project partnerships, that there can be a city-to-city network and contributions. In that sense, we would like to develop these kind of models that can be resourced by global development agencies, and this could be an additional avenue. But cities from Macedonia can contribute in this as either host of these climate activities like NAMA or CDM. They can be involved in the Covenant of Mayors, and they can also contribute in the global registry as well.
And maybe adding on to that, also encourage your local government association in your country to join the roadmap, because they also then can represent many cities from your country. Then another question, do you expect cities and local governments to be granted access to national or global funds by 2015 during the COP21? Interesting question.
Actually, this is advancing rapidly. Even in the Green Climate Fund, which concluded last week, we are seeing that they would like to engage with subnational authorities. The new NAMA concept, National Appropriate Mitigation Actions, is also a unique opportunity. If you look at the registry of NAMA, around 50% of the events that are, or actions that are proposed are urban level, which is urban transport, urban energy efficiency. These are all encouraging that we will have more access and we'll have more engagement. Let's recall in the CDM business, for example, less than 10% of the global CDM projects or CDM budgets was channeled towards to the CDM funds or CDM pipeline. It was basically the process was not too much convenient for their local government action. But with the NAMA concept, with the unique new tools, and especially also the opportunities that Tokyo, California, and the provincial governments in China and Korea are developing, that local and subnational governments are also introducing innovative proposals to the and concepts to this climate action and access to the financing, and we would like to see more of these to happen in the next phases.
Then we have a question on the networks. A question is, you are inviting other networks to join the roadmap. Will there be any workshops or meetings with, for example, the Covenant of Mayors management or with signatories?
That's a fantastic question. I'm just going back to my slide where we have the local government Nantes declaration. Here you can see almost a huge majority of the European networks, because it was hosted in Nantes in France in September, but you can also use CLG Africa. You can see because of the local climate solutions for Africa. Definitely we would like to expand in the days ahead. We would like to use specific events like the meetings of the UNFCCC, but just last week, for example, we were in Brussels, we were having consultation with European networks, and with the Covenant of Mayors, we foresee this as an important good practice at the supranational level, which means an interaction of the European Commission directly with the local governments, and we would like to have more active collaboration in the registry. You can also see European cities reporting in the global registry. Is that coming?
There we hear you again.
Sorry. In the Covenant of Mayors, we foresee if there can be a workable collaboration from the European cities reporting through Covenant of Mayors can connect to the registry. That would strengthen, of course, the global and regional and local collaboration. In that sense, we are in touch with the European Commission experts, Covenant of Mayors Secretariat, and we would like to come up with some proposals before or at Paris 2015, which is another host city of a Covenant of Mayors, of course, which is Paris and then partners.
And of course we will try and continue regular webinar updates, because this also allows us to do it at a CO2 neutral level. But indeed any city network that is part of the roadmap can also organize workshops and sessions on this topic and invite expert speakers to participate. So indeed we encourage all the city networks to take up this role and become very active as well. Another more technical question on double counting. Can you elaborate further on the areas where you have seen double counting? in terms of the nature or type and where it takes place, and what accounts for its pervasiveness, if any. Yunus, are you still with us? I think we've lost Yunus. Okay, then I'll try and answer that one. Essentially, we have seen double counting where you, for example, have a subnational government and cities in its region that report, and the aim is also to identify where these double counting problems potentially are occurring, and then to flag these, that it is very clear in order not to, well, at least to raise the point. There you go, Yunus. Are you with us again?
Marek, I think you were speaking at the last time and we couldn't hear you. If you can repeat your last lines.
On double counting?
No, we couldn't hear that question. You were mentioning about the additional networks to convene with events and we can contribute in their events. That was the last thing we heard from you.
Okay, it seems the internet is a bit unstable. Good. And essentially we're inviting all the city networks to organize their own workshops and events and also bring in expert speakers to deal with this roadmap process. The aim is that the networks that have signed up and support the roadmap concept and process actively engage with their own members and to organize events. Good. Shall I quickly repeat the double counting question?
Yes, please.
Good, and then we need to speed up a bit because we've got quite a few other questions. So double counting, can we elaborate on areas where this takes place, the nature and type, and if this is, and if it's pervasive or not?
Double counting is mainly in two areas. One, the commitments, and then in the accounting of emission inventories. In terms of commitments, just let's give the example of European, for example. There is a European Commission target, there is a national target, there is a federal or regional target, and there's a local government target. And the possibility is that local governments, through their political decision makers or through their municipal budgets, they can raise their commitments, they can adopt a higher commitments, and this could be additional to what national governments have been trying to do. This could be formulated as which governmental authority has the most contribution into the final commitment targets, which means that when we adopt a decision in Paris, there may be some local governments who would like to go above what the national governments have advanced, which means that there could be a voluntary contribution to the existing official position of a national government. The second point is about the emission inventories. When we invest in energy efficiency or urban transport, of course, not all the contributions come from the municipal budgets, but there is also national funds in contributing. This is should be slightly clarified in that sense that if there is another additional action by local governments, this could be additional reduction of the emissions. And the third one is that if you reduce 1 ton of emissions at the city level, how this contributes to the overall emission reduction of the national government submitted to the IPCC or UNFCCC. These are the areas we have to make the clarifications.
Great, thank you, Yunus. Then there's a question on what is the way you recommend we engage in different events of the roadmap? Who is the person to stay in touch with? This is a person from Embark, WRI, and would like to join some of these events.
So the roadmap homepage is also announcing events that are organized by the partners of the roadmap, but also those friends or alliance that we have been working with. So we would recommend you to follow the roadmap webpage. There is a subscription to the announcements that you can join. But obviously, in the case of Embark, which is globally active in the North America, Latin America, and South Asia as well, we'd like to encourage you to reach out to ICLEI networks there who are also implementing a number of activities, or invite ICLEI networks who can contribute as contribution in their events. In that sense, the next couple of weeks we would be eager to hear your agendas. As we said, we would like to participate in the regional events as appropriate, but this is more like a case-by-case issue. You can either reach us directly so that we channel you to the right appropriate network we have, or you can invite us to an event that you're hosting. Just an example, on Wednesday, the Low Emission Development Network Global Partnership Let's GP is organizing another webinar on Wednesday, where we will also be participating on the VNAMA, which is vertical integration. These are the type of events that we contribute as a part of the overall roadmap activity.
Great. Then there is a question on linking agendas like biodiversity and climate. There's a question about the level of interaction between the CBD and the UNFCCC in terms of sharing lessons. ICLEI and its partners have been relatively successful in obtaining recognition by the CBD on the biodiversity issues, and nations for the important role of cities in meeting the CBD strategic plan. On the other hand, climate change has a much stronger level of recognition than biodiversity, and the city's biodiversity center has been pushing to make sure that biodiversity is included in climate change agendas. In this sense, both biodiversity and climate change can work more closely together. What is the current status, and how can we achieve this?
Yeah. In the biodiversity, the processes, the way that there's also a conference of parties, and recently around 2008 and 10, the conference of parties of the biodiversity decided to have a new strategic action in terms of engaging stakeholders. And within the scope, there was a roadmap of the local governments in terms of biodiversity. And these two overlapped perfectly together, and now there is a global partnership on local and subnational governments with biodiversity. There is a Cities Biodiversity Outlook, Cities Biodiversity Index, which has been strongly recognized with the CBD, and there is a partnership directly with the Secretariat. We are showing this as good practices to the UNFCCC. We know both UNFCCC Convention on Desertification and CBD are convening regular meetings around Rio conventions, and we would like to highlight the value of local governments contributing all these cross-cutting areas. And we are seeing there is more and more positive spirits of collaboration. In the next concrete agendas during the Resilient Cities Congress in 27th to 29th of May, we will be discussing with through the Mayor's Adaptation Forum with representatives of Convention on Biodiversity. Executive Secretary of UNFCCC is also convening regularly meetings with us during these events, and we will discuss about urban biodiversity and especially climate mitigation adaptation during the Resilient Cities Congress, which is just 3 days before the forum. We believe there will also be a good dialogue with this Convention on Desertification, so the three secretariats plus local governments will find an opportunity to talk discussions and have some concrete roadmaps on the next steps.
Excellent. Then a question from a Chinese colleague, whether any Chinese local governments are participating in ICLEI activities, either officially or unofficially. I think maybe we should answer that in a separate email, but indeed we do have Chinese cities working with us. Or Yunus, do you want to have any particular?
Yes, we are seeing there is a huge dynamic movement in China at various levels. Let's recall the Chinese government have a national target of emissions intensity reduction by 45%, and they have translated these goals to municipal and provincial governments, and now Chinese municipal and provincial governments are launching one by one their emission trading mechanisms. In that sense, we are trying to connect with the global experiences like Tokyo or California, and in that sense there's cross-learning from each other with ICLEI regional and national offices and members there. There is also the issue of, through our collaboration with the Global Protocol, we have been convening with RRI and C40 workshops that is also addressing to the Chinese cities. The Global Protocol is also suitable for Chinese cities to report. And we are also, through our East Asia Secretariat, trying to engage the Chinese cities in our events. For example, there was a delegation visiting the Eco-Mobility Festival. There is bilateral visits. And of course, we are also happy to work with the Chinese government through Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, but also during the climate negotiations, we are having closed dialogues, partnerships with the Chinese government. In that sense, we are believing that there's a huge cross-fertilization, and all these Chinese efforts are also referred Articles 17 and 19 of the non-declaration, which gives an indication that there's a global recognition of the Chinese efforts from the local and subnational government networks.
Great, thank you, Yunus. Then our last question, is there a sketch of an agenda for the June forum in terms of content, and is it still possible to contribute to shaping this?
The June forum is a decision or is an agenda by the negotiation track of ADP process, track 2 or workstream 2. The concrete decision, let's go back to the decision again. The June forum is a part of the mandate that is given to the UNFCCC Secretariat, that they are in collaboration with the co-chairs of the ADP will convene a forum to help share among parties practices and experiences of citizens of national authorities in relation to adaptation and mitigation. This concretely shows that the main authority and the main host of this event is the ADP process, co-chairs, and the UNFCCC Secretariat. In that sense, we are trying to learn some of the preparations. We assume by the March ADP talks, which will be convened in Bonn between 10 and 14th of March, there will be more clarities, or during this session we can have some more ideas. But we basically would like to start to prepare ourselves with our networks that they should consider that they may have a role either as an invitation directly from the UNFCCC to the networks or the local government's municipal authority constituency, which are the accredited organizations, or the national governments can invite mayors or local government representatives in their official delegations. That, for example, a Japanese government may propose Tokyo, for example, to make a presentation, or a South African government can propose Durban to present, or European Commission can propose Covenant of Mayors as good practices. These type of options we are assuming that can come up, but so far officially there is no announcement, but we are following up with co-chairs and the UNFCCC Secretariat, and we'll share as soon as we have more public level information.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Yunus. All right, these were all the questions. We invite you also to post questions by email, and we can try and also answer them on the Roadmap website. I just wanted to reconfirm that we will have the same webinar with the same contents this afternoon at 4 o'clock Central European Time, and we also have more space, so we have about 60 people registered for that already. So if you think this is worthwhile, also encourage your colleagues or people who might be interested to join and register for that one. And Yunus also mentioned the VNAMA webinar on the 26th of February at 10 o'clock Central European Time. Here we will be working, this is a webinar of the GIZ supported by ICLE, and we will be presenting the concept of vertically integrated, nationally appropriate mitigation actions. So if you're interested in VNAMA as a financing mechanism, please join us for that as well. You're welcome to send us an email and we can send you the link for that. And last but not least, I would like to thank you very much for your interactive participation. It's wonderful to see so many questions being asked. So I would like to wrap up by saying thank you to the Urban Lakes Project, which actually is currently financing a lot of the roadmap work we're busy doing, which is funded by the European Commission and implemented by UN Habitat and ICLE. Again, thank you very much, and I wish you a good morning, afternoon or evening, wherever you are. Goodbye.
Bye.